Hello out there. It's January 20th, 2022, a fun date, and this is the weekly Backdrop developer meeting. We get together every week to talk about priorities and objectives for Backdrop Core and beyond.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Indeed. Well, should we take over until Nate reconnects to the meeting?
Yeah, looks
Okay.
like we're still live.
So before we get into the agenda, we should probably go around and do some introductions. Oh, wait, Nate's back.
Hi.
Hi.
Sorry.
The
The live
cat.
meeting notification popped up and I tried to dismiss it and I left. So, hi. Yeah, okay. Introductions. I'm Nate Lampton from Oakland, California. I'm quick sketch on the internet and a core committer. Let's go to Jen and then to Robert.
I'm Jen Lampton, also joining from Oakland, California. That's it for me.
Robert and then Greg.
I'm Robert Lang, bug folder on the internet, coming to you from Altadena, California, working lately on contrib issues.
Okay, thanks, Robert. Greg and then Joseph.
I am Greg. I'm joining from Greece. Interested to help with anything related to Backdrop. Yeah.
Thanks, Greg. Joseph and then Justin.
Hi, I'm Joseph. I'm a backend developer from Las Vegas, and I've been working on regressions and bugs and contrib modules based on the regressions. So it's been fun, I guess.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later in the meeting. Thanks, Joseph. Justin and then Olaf.
Justin Christopherson in Denver, Colorado, and I've been helping out with infrastructure.
All right, thanks, Joseph. Or Justin. Olaf and then Wilbur.
Yeah, I'm Olaf Krawienski from Hamburg in Germany, and I'm a site builder, freelancer, and so on.
Thanks, Olaf. Wilbur, can you give us a quick intro? And then Tim.
Yeah, my name is Wilbur Ince. I'm in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I host Backdrop Office Hours, which happens 19 to 2100 UTC time, which is in your time zone as well somewhere. So come and join us and get involved.
Thanks, Wilbur. Finally, Tim.
My name is Tim Erickson. I'm St. Paul Tim. I'm in Deerwood, Minnesota. And I enjoy going to office hours with Wilbur, and I'm excited to start ramping up and getting ready for Backdrop Live, which will be on March 11th. And by the way, Wilbur, you mentioned the times, but not the date for office hours. It's Wednesdays. Wednesdays at the time Wilbur mentioned.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Before we go into things, into the main part of the meeting, we usually do a contrib update. Jen, could you give us an update on Contrib World?
Sure. So we have two new modules this week. One of them is Robert's Bootstrap icons module. So Robert, I don't know if you want to do a quick intro to that.
Basically, it's a unbundling of Bootstrap icons from the theme Bootstrap 5 Lite. So people can choose to use them independently.
Great. And then it looks like Peter also made a module called Aussie Slang, which is inspired by the pirate module. It'll allow you to translate your site into Aussie slang on Australia Day, which I think is January 26th. So just in time for Australia Day, everybody should install the Aussie Slang module and get a little fun out of their websites.
Crikey.
All right. Yeah, big news this past week. So this is the first meeting since our 121 release. So yay, Backdrop 121 came out January 15th, 2022. Very exciting. Also our 7th birthday, I believe. Tim, you did an excellent job with Twitter. I was very surprised to see you took all of the suggestions for what we could do for birthday and did all of them, which made quite a lot of fun noise on Twitter, and that was really excellent. So happy 7th birthday to Backdrop, and happy 22nd release if you count 21. I think that's right. Yeah. Well, happy release nonetheless. It was a good release. Lots of new features that got in there. We didn't bump very many things, but we didn't quite get to absolutely everything. Uh, Also kind of exciting or very helpful. We some of the people on the security team were aware of this before 121 was released, but we knew that there was going to be a related security release to jQuery UI promptly after the release of 121. And so Indigo Zella's work to bump 121 up to the latest version of jQuery was very advantageous for us to coincide that with a minor release. Um, some people may have noticed yesterday there was a security release for Drupal that was related to jQuery UI, and we didn't have to apply that same update because we included it in 121. And sorry, I told Jen that she was going to talk about that, and I just ran right into it. So, Jen, is there more details that you would like to say about that particular
Just that
happenstance?
the Drupal 7 issue did run into some regressions, and those regressions were because the solution for Drupal 7 was to apply patches to the old version of jQuery that's in 7 and not actually to update the library. So they're sort of running most of the library, but not all of it, which is where the regression came from. Where with us updating to the latest version of the library meant that we didn't run into the same problems with the regression. There were also 3 additional security issues that affected Drupal 7 did not affect Backdrop because they were problems with jQuery 110. And for the entire lifetime of jQuery, we've only had 111 and later. So those issues did also not apply to Backdrop. So it's only the most recent ones for issues with 112 that were now fixed by us moving to 113.
Yeah, hooray! Preventative measures for the win. That's fantastic. So we did release a public security announcement. I think that's what it was, PSA, yesterday, just saying that no, there is no security release for Backdrop, and yes, that is intentional. So great to get ahead of things. All right. So 121, not all sunshine and roses, though. We have a couple of issues that are causing trouble. One of which is issue 5460, that is a pretty serious issue regarding the menu system. We put in some optimizations into the way menu links are saved in 121, and although that change had been in the 1.x branch for several weeks, we didn't catch the issue that a lot of people ran into pretty quickly after updating. And that it surfaces in your site creating lots of duplicate links. In particular, user/login seems to get duplicated frequently, as does, well, I guess that's the only one that seems to happen frequently, because out of the box, it's the only menu link that exists in 2 places. If you have one menu link in 2 places, then it starts making lots and lots of that particular menu link. I haven't actually seen that I haven't experienced this behavior myself. Could someone elaborate if that actually shows itself in the front end interface as well? Like, do you literally see your menu tree flooded with user login links?
So essentially what happens is when in hook menu, when you create a menu entry with certain like certain menu router types will cause it to automatically create menu links. And so if you have something like that, which user login is one of those, so that it automatically gets put into certain menus, then you create a customized menu link with the same router path afterwards. That one will overwrite the original one created by the system module. And so every time caches are cleared, it will try to create a new system version of that link every single time.
Mm.
And it's essentially because I'm using the link path as the array key in our cache array. And so anytime you have two or more items with the same link path, they all just get overwritten.
Okay. So what we're planning on doing to solve this problem, first of all, is that we're going to revert the optimization that we put into 121. That will stop the menu links from being created. But we need to do more than that. We need to actually clean up the mess that we've made on anybody's sites that have made duplicate links. And Indigo Zealous started on a pull request that does the revert and fixes the user login link specifically, because that's the situation that we've seen. Do you think it's possible, Joseph, for us to write a better update hook that cleans up all of the menu links that might be duplicated? Or I'm kind of wondering which way we should take this. If we should solve the immediate problem that we know of and clean up the most common situation because we have that ready and get it out quickly, or should we try to be thorough and clean up everything, which might also require more testing because it would be potentially more dangerous? Which way we should
Right.
take this?
I think we should do more than just user login, because it was pretty easy to come up with scenarios where you could have more than just that one being duplicated. As far as what we could do, well, I think what we could do is essentially compare the rows, and if two menu links are exactly identical except for different menu link IDs, we could remove all the later ones.
I'd just like to point out, we have one example in the forum of somebody who seems to have
Yeah.
a bunch of links that got repeated. So we have somebody that can test it.
Yeah, the first person that reported this issue was mentioning that it was happening to their navigation menu, not the user login, like flooded with various numerous links.
Mhm.
Yeah, couldn't this also then occur, Joseph, if you're saying if something adds something through hook menu and you also have a manual link, this could also happen with things like a view or even a layout, I think, where
Correct.
those things are creating menu entries through hook menu. And then if you also put a custom menu link, then you could get duplicates that way too.
Yeah.
So views and layouts would be very common things to have menu system driven tabs and menu entries and things like that. Well, it's very useful knowing that we can. I think that we can now reproduce it with that level of information. But that also sounds like, yeah, we need to have a comprehensive fix. And I don't want to have two releases. I don't want to have 121.1 that reverts it and then 121.2 that fixes the mess. So yeah, fixing this as soon as possible. It's going to be a big priority for us. As soon as that's ready and we're tested, we need to get 121.1 out as quickly as possible. So there's a lot of attention on this issue right now, and I'm not putting the pressure directly on you, Joseph. There's like half a dozen people that are all looking at this right now. As soon as we get something that's ready, we'll make the new release,
Okay.
whenever that is.
Is it? Well, I'm going to put a little bit of ask for a little bit of clarification on that, in the sense of, is it worth us putting a note, like a dashboard notification or something, encouraging people to wait? Or is it going to come fast enough? Is it going to come soon enough that maybe we don't need to do that?
Yeah, I was about to mention that.
Yeah. I mean, if it's going to be more than like 24 or 48 hours, I think we ought to just warn people that they should hold off for a day or two.
Yeah. What do you, any other thoughts on that? I'm ambivalent.
I'm not 100% sure. So we have like a plan for how to fix this, but I don't know at this time how long that's going to take to actually implement.
Okay. Well, I could put up a blog post and a dashboard notification, and we can just take them down if it gets solved right away. So
yeah, let's put a deadline on it then, and if we don't get it done very quickly, then we'll publish it. And let's be aggressive with that and say if we don't get it fixed before the end of tomorrow, if it's not fixed on Saturday, then post the warning. So that puts our objective of fixing this on today or tomorrow, and then also making the release. Yeah, Robert, sorry.
Can I raise a question? Is it feasible to halt distribution of the known buggy version so that we at least don't create more people with scrambled menus?
I don't know of a way to do that.
Hmm.
I've recently seen, I think, Lando, or I can't remember which releases I was monitoring, which they did actually that they discovered that there was a bug. And then what they did is they removed the assets from the GitHub release, and maybe we can unpublish the node. So if we know that it is problematic, maybe we should prevent people from installing it once we have an alternative version up.
Yeah, I mean, we could unpublish the node on backdropcms.org. That would stop update module from notifying people. It would have the effect of making the other release that we made, the bug fix release, have that be the notification that they get saying you should update to 120.4.
Does that include the optimization which broke things?
No,
So that,
no, we only put the optimization in the 121 version. So
Does that include the jQuery changes?
it does not. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, it's clearly best if we get this solved as quickly as possible. Yeah,
Nate?
I wouldn't want to try unpublishing the release, Robert. I think that it could have all kinds of weird repercussions of code disappearing out from under people could be problematic. Olaf, go ahead.
Yeah, there's in Zulip is a short post from Archipiano, who gives some feedback while watching on YouTube, and I'm reading it. So I'm watching a bit online. In my opinion, this menu issue has to be fixed as soon as possible. We can figure out a way to roll back the duplicates later. The more we wait, the more duplicates they'll have.
So thank you, RG, or Alejandro, for your feedback. Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that. And we do have an update hook right now that fixes the kind of like the most common situation of user/login. And it's also pretty safe. But I'm a little bit worried that 121.2 might not come out with the same urgency, and it might be a couple of weeks before we make a second release.
I think that's okay though, because if the problem is fixed and the cleanup is delayed, we don't need urgency on the cleanup. Like I don't know. I'd be on board with getting the fix out and then doing.
What if there's broken sites out there right now that people don't know how to fix them?
Yeah.
Like this guy on I forget his name, but the guy in the forum who originally reported this, I think he's still working on a dev site. So I think his live site is still clean. I'm not sure about that, but I'm just worried about there's somebody like him that's applied this to a live site and they've got a bunch of duplicate menus and they don't know what to do with, and it doesn't sound like it's an easy thing to fix.
Well, these are our options. Maybe we should proceed with the plan that's like we should try to fix this before tomorrow, and if we don't have it fixed before tomorrow, we go with the pull request we currently have, and we do a release either way. So 121.1 comes out tomorrow, no matter what, and it's just a matter of whether or not we have a great fix or like a mostly fix. But we can stop the proliferation of duplicate links immediately. Does that sound good to people? Okay. And then we don't need to prepare the notification because we know 121.1 is going to come out. We might want, well, I don't know. We might want to prepare a 121.1 post of like what it fixes, and let people know that that's available, rather than people needing to find the bug report and then finding the issue that way. Because it's possible that people may have upgraded to 121 and not noticed that they've got duplicate links. And so it might be good to be proactive and tell people, you should check your site out if you upgraded, to look for this problem. Okay, that's a plan. Okay. All right, next issue that we've got here, also a 121 problem that has arisen, something that we kind of foresaw that there might be some problems with, but we thought that we mitigated it fully, but didn't quite get it all. And that's we introduced some new methods into the entity classes. They now have view and build content methods. And when we were testing this pull request, we did a lot of prep work checking for Entity Plus to make sure that it wasn't going to be negatively affected, as well as some other modules. I think, Robert, you mentioned UberCart and
Rules.
rules. So all three of those modules have had fixes or tests applied against them or new releases to make it so that they all work with 121. And they all came out before 121 was released, but we missed one, at least so far, in registration module, that it also created a custom entity, had a view method on that custom entity, and that view method wasn't compatible with the definition set forth by Backdrop 121. So registration module has seen pull request applied to it. I think Joseph was the one that did the work there. I'm not sure if there's a new release of registration yet, but this is kind of it was a little bit of an iffy thing. We saw that there was going to be some potential problems with Contrib by adding these new methods. We tried to mitigate it as best we could, and it turns out that wasn't quite enough. And it also brings up the concern that there could have been like custom code out there that we weren't seeing that could have also been affected. In this case, well, Joseph, yeah, why don't you, if you have anything to say, why don't you go
Sure.
ahead before I get into.
So yeah, Jen made a pull request and I applied it along with a few other things that have been sitting around waiting, and created a new release of the registration module this morning. So if you're having problems with the registration module, try updating it.
Yeah, so we have the contrib problems as far as we know of in hand. This situation, we don't really have a way to do any further mitigation, I don't think, at least as far as custom code is concerned. If you're making custom entities and they already provided a view method, then it's going to be tough for us to accommodate that situation. I'm not quite sure what this really means as far as like adding methods to classes is kind of a common thing that we need to be able to do, and I'm not quite sure what to do about classes that extend our current classes and add their own methods with common names that could potentially conflict with other the parent classes new methods that we add in the future. Yeah, just struggling a little bit to find a good way to manage that. Welcome, Irina.
Hello. Hi. Give me a second. I need to reorganize my video presentation. Hold on. Good to see you all.
So anyway, I think all that we're doing with this is bringing it to people's attention that it's a potential concern. And I think that, you know, we don't really have much to do to resolve that problem. Does anyone else have any thoughts or ideas regarding that particular concern? Okay. Well, I guess the outcome is that if you have a module that has done that, then you need to update the definition to either match the view method or change the name of the method to not be view, to call it something else. Yeah, Joseph?
I was just going to say, I think it was either PHP 7.3 or PHP 7.4. They made the method parameters essentially enforced constraints in as part of your inheritance. So I don't know like what we do about that, but it will probably cause us problems again in the future just because of the way PHP changed moving forward.
Yeah. Oh, that's kind of an interesting point there, that if you're running an older version of PHP, it actually doesn't cause problems.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, we're not living in that world anymore, though. So, but let's move on to the next topic because it's highly relevant, and that is dropping support for old versions of PHP. So we have this issue to drop support for versions of PHP prior to 5.6. So 5.6 will become the new minimum version. I don't know where that issue went in my browser, but we discussed and made that decision during the 121 release cycle, and we decided we're going to bump it to 122, and we're going to merge in that change as soon as possible. So that issue to bump the minimum PHP version to 5.6, it already has a pull request. I think, maybe not. But yeah, we'll get to bumping the minimum PHP version really soon here. And that'll only be in the 1.x branch, not in the 121 branch, which will continue to support all the way back to 5.3.2, I think is currently the actual minimum. So that's coming down the pipe. There is a notice in Backtop 121, however, that if you're running an old version, it throws an error on the status report telling you that your version of PHP is completely unsupported and Backdrop will not support it moving forward, starting, what would that be? May 15th. Okay, so that's one of the things that we can move forward 121 and higher. I'm sorry, starting with 122. Other 122 issues that got bumped from 121 include the hidden path content type, which I think we're also planning on moving forward as soon as possible, but I think that we got stuck on some more terminology issues or implementation issues about whether or not to use a view or a layout. Okay, yeah, Tim, could you summarize that a little bit more elaborately? Summarize elaborately.
Sure, I suppose. Olaf, feel free to help me out. Where this issue got stalled was that we are currently, well, quickly, the main focus of the issue is to add a hidden path content type, and we wanted to display that in the default, the install profile. So the original pull request had a view on the front page that showed 3 hidden path nodes that had information about Backdrop. Some people suggested that a view isn't really, I mean, part of our reason for doing all of this is to educate people and to give them an example of how to use this. And some people pointed out that a much more logical way of doing this would be with a layout, not a view. And I think there was a lot of sympathy that was true, that a layout is a better route to go. So we said, let's hold off and work on that. But as soon as we started to think about that, we realized that introduces some new problems. That we can't do it exclusively with a layout in existing path nodes using the existing front page layout, unless we basically, because we have just horizontal rows. Like if you're going to use a layout to place 3 side-by-side blocks, ideally I would create a flexible layout and I would create a row with 3 regions in it, and I would put a block in each one. We could use CSS to put 3 existing content blocks next to each other, but in my view, that isn't really much better than you doing a view. So we have that option. We have we could replace the front page layout with a flexible layout in core. What are our other options, Olaf? Are there any existing layouts in core that would work for this?
I don't think so, because there's one with 3 columns, but if we would use these columns for the hidden path content type, for the cards, that's the other name for it, we couldn't put the content in this in a good place. So yeah, I think we would need another layout, be it a flexible one or another core layout. And there are also other problems. Let me just mention one. The typical card is starts with an image, then has the title and then the body text. And we can't do that without writing a template for this card content type. It was possible with views because there you can rearrange the fields, but you can't do it in the managed display. The title is not arrangeable there. There's an issue for it, and I would welcome it very much if we could add this feature. But this is the kind of feedback I think we need, because every approach has its difficulties. And now we have to decide which difficulty to solve, and also at which place Backdrop will win. For example, if we would by this opportunity would make title a pseudo field and make it arrangeable, it would be a very nice thing, but I don't know if that's the thing we want to do.
How is it different from regular block?
Ask the question again, Irina.
From what I'm reading, it looks like it's what is called block. There is a generic concept of a block, which is a piece of content that doesn't have its own path and is reusable. So I'm trying to understand how this is different.
Right. A hidden path node is a node that doesn't have its own page, and you can use an existing content block. We have existing content blocks in core, and in an existing content block, you just put a node number in it, and that node populates the block. And one of the main use cases for existing content blocks is to make it easier for site editors to edit blocks, because oftentimes we don't give site editors access to edit blocks, but we do give them access to edit nodes. So if you use existing content blocks, your site editor can edit the content of blocks. So that's the feature that we're trying to introduce, is to add this content type to core. But we feel like we need to demonstrate how it's used in the install profile, and that's where the problem is right now. Is how do we create a good demonstration of these blocks?
I'll try to test it, but to me, it seems like you're trying to address issue with permissions by introducing new content type. It is a little confusing to me, but I might be wrong.
I think certainly for those of us who started this issue, we feel like this is it's an important, or it's a very useful tool. The hidden path blocks are a useful tool for users, but it's exactly the fact that people don't understand them, which is partly why we wanted to put them in core and demonstrate how to use them to make them more understandable. But your response is very common. A lot of people, when they first look at the issue, are kind of like, I don't quite get why you're doing this. So I don't know. It's certainly a legitimate question, but I think, we're sort of past whether or not we should do it. We decided we wanted to do it, and now we're just trying to decide how best to implement it. That doesn't mean we can't go back and revisit the original issue.
What if we would add a recipe that would provide us with another page on the website, not necessarily the home page, but it would just create a recipe or a block demonstration page, right? We could add a block demonstration template then that would be able to handle that. But maybe that's a way to package it and it would be an extra page on the website rather than the front page.
So, my quick response is that a lot of the excitement around this PR is that it does also update the front page. But that here we're sort of blending different purposes, and I don't know if we should be. So Olaf and I have identified like two possible solutions. And the question is there opposition to those? Before if we don't like those solutions, we might need a new one. But first of all, would people object to replacing the current front page layout with either a completely new layout or with a flexible layout template? Is that either of those approaches seem reasonable to people? To me, they're pretty big changes, so I'm not sure what people are going to think about them.
I'm in favor of not specifically the homepage, but in general, providing one of the default layouts, having a flexible layout out of the box because of the benefits that flexible layouts provide. If the homepage provides an opportunity to do that, yeah. So long as we don't break existing sites.
Yeah, well, in all cases, this is about updating the standard profile, and so it will not affect any existing sites. It's just about new ones. I am hesitant about flexible layouts, but that's probably because I'm a person that would prefer to make my layouts by hand rather than using the flexible layouts tool. I think it probably depends on the type of developer or site administrator you are, if that's a preferred approach or not. But I could see that being a very good argument for let's definitely not make a new layout, a themed layout just for the homepage if we're making it just for this one page, because now we've just created yet another layout that that maybe I would prefer the flexible approach over making a new template. And so if those are our only two options, then I would take the flexible approach. Yeah,
The flexible layouts provide two things that exist in Drupal. The way that I see it is the new, some of the, not all of the functionality, but comparable features, right? One is the layout builder for Drupal, so it's something comparable to that. And second is something that you were able to do, I found out, with panels, which was to create flexible layouts that you could sort of like rearrange the widths of regions and add regions to them. And I'm not sure how discoverable flexible layouts are as they are now.
Yeah, because they're hidden away under the
Yes.
templates. Yep.
Yeah. So and there's a very old issue. I'll try to find it where we were before even Layout Builder existed, where people suggested that, hey, they saw this like in Wix or some other product where you could sort of like drag and drop and create squares, which would be your regions. And they would saying, yes, we want this, a visual layout builder, which is basically what flexible layouts are. So yeah, that's why I said I would be in favor of one of our default layouts, even if it was one that was disabled and you could enable, was using a flexible layout. I see the benefits in that.
Yeah, there's some good compelling reasons.
I'm also on your team here, Nate. I also feel like the flexible layouts are currently limited by permissions. So you could have people who are allowed to adjust layouts but can't get to flexible layouts. And in the future, we'd also talked about setting them up as a separate module that can be disabled if people don't want to use flexible layouts. By tying the default install to this feature, it's going to make it much harder to remove it later. And so I think if we can find a way to not use a flexible layout, then we're going to be allowing us a lot more flexibility for what we can do in the future.
May I ask, what is flexible layout? I apologize for interrupting. This topic is very dear to my heart. And this is one big caveat that I see right now with default profile is that sidebars are fixed. That is a very big problem. And I know that there are other templates that eliminate this very simple This is a very minor but very important topic. So maybe I misunderstand what is flexible layout.
Anyone?
Irina, if you stay on the call after this meeting, I can demonstrate what a flexible layout is. Cool. Thanks.
Thank you.
I'll just, one argument for, I'm not advocating for this, but one argument for a new layout template might be, one, to address the problem that Jen just raised, but two, because I don't think any of our current layout templates work good for like common front page designs in terms of like the placement of the container block and region. So I think there an argument could be made that adding a layout to core that kind of addresses some of the common needs of, although I'm not 100% sure if that's possible. And that, Jen, you'd probably have a better idea. Could we include a new layout in core that would just be much better for front page layouts?
Yeah, I think that would be much easier because it would be something that if nobody, like on any existing site, if they'd never used it, it could even be disabled. If we wanted to, we have the ability to enable and disable specific layouts, but we could also just leave it enabled. And then the next time they go to create a layout, they'll have a new option. And then for new installs, they could use the new layout. I also would be in favor of, if we are finding a limitation with the layouts that are in core, adding a new layout that gives people more flexibility also solves that problem for them down the road, where maybe they don't need to make a flexible layout in order to get what they need. And I think that, if we could get some use cases of like, what do you do on a homepage, that would also be really valuable for us to make sure we have the right features in core to start with.
You go ahead.
Yeah, I think this sounds good in theory, but this way the issue becomes even much bigger. And so I fear that we don't get it in for the next release this way, because yeah, it sounds good, but who does the work? And the decisions for the layout, and maybe we can't decide in time and so on. So I'm not sure if I agree. And then there's even the title field issue, which is another problem. And it's not easy with the pseudo fields. So I'm skeptical.
Robert, did you want to?
Robert?
Just wondering if we might reconsider the views-based approach, in part because that, as an approach, it's more flexible. If someone says, oh, I want 4 cards or 2 cards, they know it. But also, if they're coming from Drupal, they understand how to play with views, whereas layouts are this new thing. And I agree that we want to introduce people to the power of layouts, but this might not, as complicated as it's starting to get, this might not be the right tool to use to do that introduction. So maybe revisit whether just going with a view would work.
Yeah, I think the view was sort of a workaround for this problem originally, when I'm like, oh, I want the thing that Greg showed us. How do we do that with what we have? And views was the answer to that. It might also be good, though, to have a follow-up issue that's like, let's talk about how we could do this with a layout, and maybe we get this issue done with the current approach and we not worry about layouts, and then we go, okay, in the future we can switch brand new installs to something else. I feel like we're never going to have a problem with changing what a fresh install does, because we're not going to have to worry about updates for that.
That's actually a good idea to get this going.
And we have also the option to easily add an existing content block in the sidebar of the about page or somewhere else for the other use case.
Yeah.
I'm just going to endorse this, given the direction everything's went, which is that we go with the views option, but that we open an issue and we maybe look at this idea of a new template, which addresses some of the front page issues. And then once we've got that, then we could reorganize the front page using that if we decide. My only fear was that people won't want to change the way, but maybe that's not an issue. Like if we start with views for this, And then we do have a template. Are people going to be okay switching, even if that's only 3 months from now or 4 months from now or a year from now?
I think if what we're switching is what a fresh install does,
Right,
it's
right.
much harder than being like, oh, well, now there's existing sites that are running this and we can't change it. We just have to,
Right.
not break what we've done before and add something new. And I think that's
Just the same list black that I have an issue somewhere lying there that to introduce a button that says use this fixed layout template to create a flexible template, so that people say, I like this, but it's not 100% what I need. So then you start off with that, and then you sort of like mix and match.
brilliant.
By the way,
Where's that issue?
I'll find it and I'll send it. Yeah. So Alejandro has joined us. Maybe we want to give him an opportunity. Hello, to say something. I'm not sure if you joined to say something specifically or.
No, my other thing just finished and just joined. I don't have an opinion about this, so thanks.
Okay, cool.
Well, we are at the top of the hour and kind of out of time for this normal discussion. The big takeaways from today is that we're going to release 121.1 tomorrow, one way or the other. We're going to try to write a better update hook, and if we can't write a better update hook and test it before then, we'll go with the pull request that we have currently that reverts that problem and cleans up the user login link. Yeah, it sounds like yeah, we'll bump to PHP 5.6 kind of whenever we get around to it. So that'll probably be in the next week. And the hidden path node type sounds like we kind of have, at least amongst those present, reached a general agreement that's proceeding with what we have right now is the most clear way forward, but not necessarily the final product that we might follow up again later. The nice thing is, if we really get this in, like if we can reach that level of agreement, we're at the very beginning of the cycle right now. We could actually change it again before 122 even comes out. Yeah. Whoa. Yeah. So I like this idea of going with what we have. I think that'll at least make the number of problems that we're trying to solve like fewer or split up into more separate issues. So wow, lots of things that have all been happening. So thank you everybody for joining this meeting. It was a really great one. And we're going to leave this room open after the recording, but I think we'll go ahead and end the broadcast and say thank you all for joining